Hey guys, number one Marmaduke fan here. I got a nice tripod for the channel and everything, and then it flopped right over. So I made a product review to blow off some steam about that, but it's all right. The channel will go on. My entire YouTube career will not be destroyed by one faulty product. I'll get a new one sometime, and we'll get a nice steady tripod so I can use both hands, and I won't give you motion sickness. We will take baby steps toward progress. I want to control myself so I don't talk about tripods for 20 minutes. All right, Conan the Barbarian, Captive Hearts. This is going to be another thing where I have an idea, but I kind of want to come at the idea from two different angles, and Conan the Barbarian and Captive Hearts, I think, will give me a chance to do that. So I want to tell you the thesis before I lose the thesis, or before I start talking about how frustrated I am by tripods that don't work. So your boy Zach has done some reviews of Conan the Barbarian, and I was never a Conan the Barbarian kid at all. I think my parents probably wouldn't have let me read it, but I did know that Samurai Jack, Genndy Tartakovsky, would talk about being inspired by Conan the Barbarian, and when it's a buck, I kind of want to check it out. Now, your boy Zach kind of roasted Conan the Barbarian. He said it was sort of a stupid kid's comic, and he had this running gag where he kept saying, "Oh, look, the lady looks suspiciously submissive to Conan in this panel and in this panel," and he was joking about how trashy and stupid it was. Now, I had just read some Conan the Barbarian stories drawn by John Buscema, and John Buscema is such a wonderful artist. He kind of like transposes me into the high heavens, and I was thinking, oh, come on, Zach, I just read these great Conan the Barbarian comics. It can't be that bad. And then I read one that wasn't drawn by John Buscema, and I realized, oh yeah, okay, this is kind of trashy. Now, I said trashy. It's not trash, it's trashy. Trash, I rip, because I feel bad having spent any amount of money on it. I feel bad if I got it for free at the library. That's what trash is. Trashy means it's really on the nose what it is, and the appeal of it is obvious. Big strong man with sword saves beautiful lady, puts beautiful lady over shoulder, and look, there's her butt. Right? That's really obvious. And actually, I've noticed that the stories that seem to be based on the original author's novels, they seem to have a little bit more depth to them, but they're trashy. They're pulpy. Where was I going with that? Okay, so this pose clicked something for me, and that was From Far Away by Kyoko Hikawa. There was a running gag last year that every manga review I did, I ended up talking about how much I hated the manga and how Kyoko Hikawa did it better in From Far Away. It's one of the greatest series of all time. And I keep thinking about it because I've tried like 2 or 3 times to write a script, like essay on why it's such a great manga and it's an underrated gem, and every time I feel like I'm not up to the task of explaining how perfect this manga is because I'm afraid I'll oversell it. But I've had like a breakthrough, and I think I know how to approach it. But what I'm getting at is there are threads to writing, and so Zach's kind of made the point that this is trashy, but it has this core appeal that modern Conan the Barbarian comics don't have. And that'd be like a really easy video for me to make. I'd flip through the Conan the Barbarian comic, I'd point at this and say, this is the problematic part. It's so funny how sexist and racist and problematic this is, but it's actually really fun and entertaining. And they would never do this today in SJW, Marvel. And I kind of want to go a bit deeper than that. And I guess what I want to spot is, what is the appealing thing? What is the eternal thing that keeps running through these stories? So the comment that got me thinking about all this was, I asked my Twitter followers, if you could erase an idea from history, would you do it? And what I was kind of getting at is, would you censor an idea completely if you could? I thought it'd be maybe like an interesting dystopian world where they erase ideas out of history. And someone had an interesting comment where he said, kind of off topic, I would erase the book The Hero's Journey out from history because I think it's ruined the way people look at stories. And I haven't read The Hero's Journey, but I know of it as the book that George Lucas read before he made Star Wars. So I've obviously heard people talking about The Hero's Journey a lot. And I don't know, maybe it's something where I kind of have mixed feelings on it, because I feel like it is good to look at stories and look for common threads. But something I've felt when people talk about reducing stories to just a few basic plot points is they're reducing it too much. They're just reducing the story to big strong guy, gets sword from wizard, saves damsel from villain, and gets boon. The end. Right? There's more to it than that. There's the plot, but then there's how you execute the plot. So what the things I kind of put together is, if you don't want to reduce stories just down to this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened and this trope, this trope, this trope, this trope, then you've got to look for particulars of the art form. I just got done doing theater, and the theater production was a melodrama. And melodrama is a very simple, very kind of folk art, where, it's this kind of a silly play. There's a bad guy with a long mustache, and he twirls the mustache and he laughs evilly. There's a fair, beautiful, pure, innocent damsel, and there's a big, strong hero, right? So those are three very simple ideas. Sinister villain, fair damsel, big, strong hero. But what makes melodrama entertaining is the sincerity of it. And if you start looking for connections, you can see sort of the roots of melodrama running through everything, through early comics, through manga. The Mario Brothers. The Mario Brothers are a melodrama. Mario's the hero, Bowser is the villain. It used to be Donkey Kong, and Princess Peach or Pauline, they're the fair damsel. Mario was kind of inspired by Popeye. Popeye was originally thimble theater and had these sort of vaudeville theater roots. So there's this sort of simple tradition in America of really simple theater with comedic characters, of simple bad guys, simple good guys, beautiful innocent maidens. And then that runs through everything, right? But if you just simplify it to those things, you're not capturing what the appeal of melodrama or vaudeville is. There's a whole tangent about how vaudeville is related to comics. Scott McCloud talks about this, but that's got to be another video because I haven't opened the comic book yet. So I guess my point is, I want to find these particular things that make the old simple stories have this appeal that lasts. Because if you can find something in an old story that modern comics just aren't doing, maybe there's something there you can mine out of it. If it's resonating with you, why is it resonating with you? What are modern stories not doing? And my theory is modern stories are all about TV. They want to make it feel like a TV show, and these Conan especially doesn't feel like a TV show. Conan feels like a purple prose, trashy, cheap novel. And if you want the best example I've seen of purple prose personally is the Redwall series, where it's not just there was a lightning storm and the heroes got wet. It's thunder cracked against the black inky sky, right? It's dripping with drama and it's almost chewing the scenery, and that's fun. All right, with that long 7-minute tangent, let's just flip through this Conan book, because I think I can see a current thread running through both of these, and I want to focus on Conan first. We're not going to review the manga today. All right, The Gods of Bel, Sagoth. Gil Kane's the artist, and I think I've seen Gil Kane around before. Something about this art just didn't click with me, and I think the fault mostly lies with the inks. The inks are a little stiff and just slapdash in places. So even when the pencils are pretty dynamic, but there are other spots where it's just kind of weird. John Buscema helps kind of raise Conan to a higher art, I think. So this was originally published as Conan the Barbarian 17. So he's on the ship and he meets a big Redbeard giant. I like that. Even though Conan's deal is he's big and strong, he'll meet guys who are bigger and stronger than him who will joke that he's a little man. So what that forces you to focus on is it's not just that Conan is big and strong, it's that he's a barbarian, it's that he's ruthless. Look at that weird face. I actually kind of like that he makes these weird faces because that kind of underscores that he's uncivilized, but I think the inker needed to bring maybe a little bit more of a storybook illustration style to this. This feels a little bit like he was just very carefully tracing the pencil lines, like really weird wonky eyeballs there, really weird like leg posturing. There's something's not working for me artistically, but Fafnir saves him, he saves Fafnir. They have a battle between the two of them because their tribes hated each other at some point. It's kind of like Samurai Jack versus the Scotsman, where they just wear each other down. That leg, looks like Conan's twerking or something. What's going on? They forgot to color his pants, so his butt's just hanging out, and they saved the lady from the weird dinosaur with no arms. And there's this great line, "By Ymir, Conan, that wench would know her place if she were back in Vanaheim where she belongs. There a woman speaks only once a night, and the nights are 6 months long." That's problematic. Gee, Joseph Quesada, I know that maybe you were so busy telling the sexist, awful comic book customers, and putting them in their place. You forgot that your name was on this book. I'll tell you what, buddy, I'll erase your name from this book so that no one thinks that you were intentionally part of such a sexist book. Joke. I am so mad at Joe Quesada. But, all right, so the point isn't just, haha, it's a sexist line. The point is this is an ancient world. And so a lot of the Conan stories kind of on purpose underscore how Conan isn't a normal hero. He is a barbarian. He does barbarian stuff. Now, he never does something that's too cruel. Like he never kills a child. He never wants to kill an unarmed man who can't defend himself. He never forces himself on a woman. But pretty much apart from that, Conan is rough and he doesn't care about the rules of civilization. He doesn't always do like the super duper nice 21st century Boy Scout thing because he's a barbarian, but we forgive him because we understand he has his own code of ethics. Now, I think people who want to soften these characters or modernize these characters or make them less problematic, what they're forgetting is that when a guy like this makes a comment like this, I don't think a little boy looks at this and says, oh, I should make mean comments like that toward women. I bet you if there was a little girl who was weird and read Conan the Barbarian comics and she read that and got offended and asked her parents about it, I bet her parents just said, yeah, it's the barbarian age. Men were like that back then. That's just part of making it feel realistic. And I guess Extra Credits just had this whole video where they said, if you have Nazis in your games, it's got to be 100% historically accurate, or it can't have Nazis in it. Your thing does not have to be 100% historically accurate. This is a fantasy world. There are made-up countries in it. But to give it the flavor of an old-timey world, people will make comments about, it's weird for women to want to be warriors, right? Because the actual ancient peoples would find that weird, and then it makes it easier for the reader to accept the cool female tough girls, because we understand that, yeah, in their world, it's weird for a woman to be this strong and this capable and in charge of men. That's great. It's a great storytelling device to get you invested into the world. But if you're scared of this, if you're scared of being called a sexist, you hurt your story, because then you want to make Conan like a 21st century, consent needs to be continual and enthusiastic, and may I have your consent to unbutton the first button? May I have your consent to unbutton the second button? No, you are not endorsing hurting women by creating a world where the values and the beliefs are different than the 21st century, because you're using your imagination, all right? I give you permission to put inappropriate things in your stories, because you're not endorsing an inappropriate thing by including a depiction of an inappropriate thing. All right, got that out of the way, and then the guides, and there's this really yeah, Conan the Barbarian's head got cut off right here. So not face. Oh, this was not a very good Conan the Barbarian comic. It was okay for $1 though, and it's better than Soyden the Barbarian. Okay, Bayleet. I've actually got a comic with Bayleet in it. This ad is like saying, we will give you what you want. This ad is saying, we understand the kind of trashy pulp appeal of Conan the Barbarian stories. I don't know if I'm willing to risk paying $5 to buy it, but at least some people kind of get that the appeal is, yeah, this is a trashy art. It's with pulp roots. Why would we make Conan the Barbarian stories without those trashy roots? Now, I guess the point I was leading up to with all this is Conan the Barbarian has this purple prose, trashy, kind of fun narrator, problematic style to it to get you absorbed into an ancient world of big, strong men and beautiful ladies and vile villains, all in kind of like a weird pre-biblical, pre-Roman era. Threads like this then end up going through everything, but the appeal of it is the particularity of it, the writing style of the narrator, the roughness of Conan. All that stuff works together to give it a particular flavor. But you as a writer have an opportunity to grab bits and pieces of these things and build your own thing, which is why I think these can be so tonally different, but still use like similar tropes. Like I've seen the trope of the beautiful maiden getting carried off over the shoulder of the big, tall man, even though Captive Hearts has an entirely different tone and
audience in mind. I think they sort of drink. These are two rivers that kind of find a similar source. Is it the Nile, right? The Nile empties out. I forget which way the Nile flows, but it's 15 minutes. That's enough. So Conan the Barbarian, the devil god of Balsagoth, not my favorite Conan comic, but worth a buck. We will talk about how Captive Hearts relates to this next time. I'm number one Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. Sorry about the camera shake. We will get a tripod soon, and I will catch you later.